Napolitano. And of course, the Bodo Glint that we're seeing at the, giant killers were also taken to the cleaners. They were destroyed in that particular game as, Sporting CP actually took them apart in that particular match, 5-0, and of course set up a, match-watching encounter against Arsenal. It promises to be a very, very interesting evening. And also forget the drama that's actually happening in, Africa. I talked about, Morocco and Senegal issue, and of course, Super Eagles petition. I mean, lots of conversation tonight, Jerry. Let's hit it on the road.
All right, of course, and just because it looks like the issues between CAF and Morocco as well as Senegal continues, we just have to at least pipe down and look at this weekend. Well, let's start off with the Super Eagles, where the goalkeeper of the team, who just recently got re-invited, talking about Maduka Okoye, has shifted his focus away from the disappointment of missing out on the 2026 World Cup, expressing hope that the Nigerian national football team will make the most of their chances and qualify for the 2030 edition to be hosted by Morocco, Portugal, and Spain. Taking a look at the situation, I don't think a lot of those who participated in the qualifiers are over the fact that they are not going to be a part of the 2026 World Cup. Maduka Okoye is still fresh. Definitely you understand why he's talking about 2030. He was not part of the whole huddle, what the team went through. The man is already focused on 2030 because he believes he will have more chances of playing and knowing that Nwabali for now is without the club side.
Absolutely. I mean, 2030 from now is very much 4 years. And if you look at the age of Maduka Okoye, I think it's about 25 or 26 years. So at that time, it's going to be in his early 30s. And of course, for goalkeeper, they can actually be on duty till, as much as over 35, 36, and still very much doing their job. So yes, it's definitely going to be primed to actually be Super Eagles' #1 choice if, all conditions remains the same. It's sad that Stanley Nwabali is actually, struggling to find his feet right there, in South Africa or anywhere else in Europe. I think I would put the blame largely on his agent because a goalkeeper who has done so well in back-to-back Nations Cup shouldn't be clubless at this point. But yes, it's another story for another day. And for Maduka Okoye, I think that's the best thing he needs to do to actually focus on what's coming. This World Cup is obviously not feasible, except something magical happen right there in CAS if the Commission of African, if the Court of Arbitration of Sport eventually overrule the FIFA decision, against the Super Eagles. If that doesn't happen, then definitely it's going to be all eyes to see the Super Eagles. Hopefully, will be part of 2030 World Cup. But if that doesn't happen, then definitely, I think all players should be looking. And if you look at the age range of our players who actually are playing at this point, a good number of them, a good number of that particular team would not be making it to 2030, should we qualify? Because that's what the conversation should be right now. Because that team is average age 26, 27. And if you add that, to football, you understand that they're very much in their prime at this point. So 4 years to that time, like to beat OSIMHEN with over 30, I don't think they will have, the legs again to run. And, Calvin Bassey, Shemin Ajayi obviously is over 30 at the point. So I think it's going to be one of the senior players in that particular team. So it makes a lot of sense for him to start, shifting focus to that particular tournament himself, alongside maybe Tochukwu Nnadi if he's still part of the team, the young and amazing Benjamin Frederick. All of these guys can actually be part of that particular team. But at this point, yes, it's a good one for him to just shift focus. I think that's the best thing for him to do at this point.
All right, best thing to do at this time. And of course, we're talking about Maduka Okoye. He acknowledged the team's quality, but admitted uncertainty over the challenges faced. He was born in Germany to Nigerian parents. The Udinese casual goalkeeper credited his strong ties to Nigeria for his choice, despite representing Germany at youth level. But if you ask me, definitely his chances playing for the national team is more bright playing for Nigeria, because take a look at the competition the German squad would have been difficult for Maduka Okoye to get it looking.
Absolutely. There's a adage in our local parlance that blind man in the fall. Definitely he understands, what the climate has been. He lives in covers. Brings, he understands the quality of, German goalkeepers. He understands that Germany is one country in the world that, you look at where top quality shot-stopper comes in, year in, year out. You definitely want to pick, Germany. From Oliver Kahn to Manuel Neuer to Jan Sommer to Ter Stegen. These guys have top goalkeepers, and he understands what it means to actually compete. And it, going to that particular space as a non-German, by origin, your father is not a German. It says a lot about how it's going to be way difficult to actually break into the setup of that team. So I think he made the right call. For me, it's something to applaud because he actually decided to give the Super Eagles, his youth. And unlike other players like Tosin Adarabioyo, who actually is talking about jumping ship at over 26, it's a beautiful one for me, and I just hope that he gets to the level. See, the biggest thing here is it doesn't matter where you actually apply your trade, right? It's all about your focus and dedication to the game. If you put your all into the game, you definitely rise to the highest level. Vincent Nyama didn't keep for any of these top countries, Germany or Brazil or even the Three Lions. But he actually at some point became, one of the record holders in Europe, particularly in France. So if you are good, you are good. It doesn't matter, where you do your business.
All right, it doesn't matter where you do your business. If you're good, you're good. All right, let's talk about Victor Osimhen, Turkish champions Galatasaray, anxiously awaiting updates on the fitness of the star striker who faces a potential spell on the sidelines of 3 to 5 months after sustaining an arm injury in the UEFA Champions League round of 16 second leg clash against Liverpool at Anfield on Tuesday. Osimhen was brought down under a challenge from Ibrahima Konate in the first half, and the club confirmed that the Nigerian fractured his arm in the process. Galatasaray's 1-0 advantage from the first leg was not enough as they lost 4-1 on aggregate after conceding 4 unanswered goals at Anfield. And after the game, the club provided an update on Osimhen's injury, stating that the decision will be taken on whether the 27-year-old will undergo surgery or not. And despite their exit from the Champions League, Galatasaray will still be banking on Osimhen's prowess in their pursuit of the Super League and domestic cup titles. He has scored 19 goals and provided 7 assists in 29 games across all competitions this season, helping the club to a 4-point lead in the league. He also recorded 7 goals and 3 assists in 10 UEFA Champions League matches before their exit. Okay, and that is why he was excluded, I beg your pardon, from the friendlies in Turkey, where definitely a lot of us were surprised that game is going to be played in Turkey. Why is Osimhen not in the squad? Until the news came that he got injured in the game against Liverpool. But surprisingly, he's in Lagos having fun, chilling, and he must be chewing some sour meat right now.
Well, I think we have putting pressure on some of these players. We already know who the starting lineup of the Super Eagles are. We already know who definitely will be debuting for Victor Osimhen if he's not around. I think this should have been an opportunity for Eric Chell and the management of the Nigerian Football Federation to actually sit down and actually look out for that list, that 80-man list that Eric Chell claims exists with pool of players, because many of the players in that particular list are not supposed to be part of that list, not because of their quality. I'm not doubting their quality, but many of these guys are crux of the players actually from the team that went to the just concluded Nations Cup. So there's nothing special, there's nothing new to see in these players. Again, this tournament is not the tournament that's going to take you to the World Cup. It's not the tournament that's going to change anything. If anything is going to happen after this tournament, it's just basically going to be our ranking change. That's just the best we're going to get. So for me, I think what they should have done is actually to give other players who are very well known, maybe with some of the players who really didn't get a lot of minutes and they just concluded AFCON, to be part of that particular championship. And that way we definitely get to see, give opportunity to players who come to give these so-called big boys, a run for their money. Because that's exactly how you actually get to, build your team and then get top quality players, even, to third or fourth team. That's exactly how you do it. But because the NFF actually, or Shell actually decides, it must be a win at all points, that's exactly why I opted for this. Because for me, this is not the time to actually look out for, whether you want to win a game. It's all about, rebuild. And when you're rebuilding, you have to actually make through a lot of corrections and then bring in players who that, even if you have an emergency, they can step up. But of course, it's a good one for, the players who definitely be executing this one. And of course, for Victor Osimhen, I just hope that he gets better, in time, go back to doing what he loves.
All right. And of course, if they have to decide on the surgery, he'll be out for as much as 4 months, 2 to 4 months. That's a long time. Because we're already in March, if you add 2 months to that, the season is already over.
Absolutely. I think there are 2 ways it can actually happen. Maybe if the fracture is not that serious, you might actually play with painkiller through the season and then, they will have to operate on it. But if it's quite serious, then definitely they don't have any option than to, operate on it. But I mean, whatever the case is, I just hope that he gets better, and that's exactly one of the prize for being a top player and of course a footballer or an athlete, because these injuries are definitely part of the game. It's unfortunate. I of course know that whatever happened between himself and Ibrahim Konate wasn't as a result of him being malicious. It's just part of sweating for your team, and that's exactly what comes with it. It's so unfortunate it happened the way it did, but of course Victor OSIMHEN, we hope to see him back as soon as possible.
All right, Victor OSIMHEN, we hope to see you back as soon as possible while still having fun amongst your peeps out there in the holiday season. I hope the arm is not too injured not to pick up some trouble and of course pick some bottles while clubbing and having pick up some mosquitoes as well.
I don't know what you're talking about. I don't know what mosquito is.
And spark some mosquitoes.
That's malaria, Jerry.
Yeah. I spanked the mosquitoes from biting him,
Okay.
Yeah, anyway. We'll get to that. All right. Let's talk about Ademola Lookman. The Atletico Madrid forward is eager to go again after reaching the quarterfinals of the UEFA Champions League with the Spanish club, even as a tough battle against La Liga champions Barcelona awaits them in the last 8. Diego Simeone's side booked their place in the quarterfinals despite suffering a 3-2 defeat to Tottenham Hotspur on Wednesday night, and their progress was made possible by a strong first leg performance, a 5-2 win which saw them advance to 7-5 on aggregate. Lookman was not involved in any of the 5 goals in the first leg, but he set up Julian Alvarez for their first goal against their hosts on Wednesday, and the assist was the Nigerian international's 8-goal contribution, 4 goals, 4 assists since his winter transfer from Atlanta. Atletico will now face Barcelona in the quarterfinals in a repeat of the recent Copa del Rey semi-final between the two sides, where Atletico advanced to the final. Barcelona will need no reminding that they lost the first leg 4-0 in the Spanish capital before winning the return leg 3-0 at Camp Nou. Lookman acknowledged the difficulty of securing a place in the last 8, highlighting the high caliber of competition in the Champions League. Do you think that Barcelona will definitely take it easy on them? Because now this is the biggest stage, talking about the UEFA Champions League. They will be waiting to exact revenge on this team.
Absolutely, it's going to be a very big game. But if there's anything I know about football, revenge is one way to easily lose a game. When you actually have that revenge in your mind to before going to a game, it's going to actually make you very, very too cautious. And then because you want to win, you have to be extremely cautious. And when you're too cautious in the game, you're prone to making too many mistakes. The Copa del Rey should actually be left behind. Barcelona should focus on the La Liga, which they are very much comfortable at this point in the lead. And also the UEFA Champions League, it's just a double header the same way it happened in the Copa del Rey. So let them go into that particular game and then do what they have to. They have the quality to actually decide the game. And for Ademola Lookman, I mean, he's living his life, like I said, at the Wendo Metropolitano ever since he moved there. And every single thing he's been doing has been magical. I think this is more like, the best place for him at this point. Before he actually made this move, there were a lot of conversation about him moving to Inter Milan, Juventus. But trust me, this is the right move, because Cholo has actually made him, one of the integral part of the team. He has actually been part of the team where now he's not just the main character. He's not the man who is relied upon solely for inspiration to create chances to score goals. A lot of other top players, Julian Alvarez, these guys will always give him opportunity because of their presence to always create chance, opponents to chase these guys, and then he's going to be more dangerous than we've ever seen him. Against the Barcelona side, we saw what he did in the first leg in the Copa del Rey, and of course Barcelona would definitely be putting a very strong eye on him in the second leg. It's a big game. It's a game that can really, really decide the season, for Barcelona and for Atletico de Madrid. But then I just hope, for being a Nigerian's sake, I would want Ademola Lookman to go all the way. But of course, Barcelona has got the quality, and Lamine Yamal is one player who is very, very prime for the Ballon d'Or, and he's definitely going to want to take this one, very, very serious. But if you ask me very well, I'll tell you that my head is tilting towards, Barcelona, or my heart is tilting towards Ademola Lookman's Atletico Madrid.
Yeah, a lot of Nigerians would love to see Atletico Madrid move through to the next stage, talking about the semi-finals. But it's going to be a difficult ask from this Barcelona side that's been on form. We saw how they ruthlessly destroyed Newcastle United, who Elanga, would I say, asked for trouble.
Yeah.
And it was looking like there was going to be a comeback for Newcastle United, but somehow I think Barcelona wouldn't have it. And of course, Hansi Flick, quite a very experienced manager in comparison to Diego Simeone. Anyway,
Yeah.
Simeone has tasted a lot of defeats and a lot of things in the Champions League.
Yeah, absolutely. If you look at them, in terms of experience on the job, definitely Diego Simeone do have Hansi Flick. But when it comes to achievements, the big trophy, he's done it with Barcelona. He's won the La Liga. Of course, he's also won the treble with Bayern Munich. And now he understands what it means to actually be at this level to win. And he's one man whose style of play is very, very admirable. I recall that, towards about 2-3 months ago, a lot of talk about his high pressing and high lines, that it's not actually good, that he's been founded. It actually did affect them in the first leg against Atletico Madrid in the Copa del Rey, where they actually lost 4-0. But now they've actually really improved. He didn't change his philosophy. He's one man who is very, very dogged. He chooses, what he wants to do. It's the perfect description of the phrase, if I perish, I perish. He goes all the way, goes all out to do, his team exactly the same way he wants to do it. And this is going to be a very, very big game because the two managers are very, very experienced at this level. Diego Simeone understands what it feels like to actually lose a game at this level. So it's not new for him. And when a manager is not under pressure, they're very, very dangerous. So it's going to be a very interesting game. But one thing that's going to decide this particular game is the quality of the players and how they turn up. And it's so good for Barcelona that, a lot of their key players are, returning back. Pedri will definitely be back. All these guys are back now, so it's going to be quite different from what we saw in the first leg of the Copa del Rey. So that's exactly why I'm actually looking at Barcelona as most likely to actually pick the victory in this particular type. But you do not take it away also from Atletico Madrid because they've also got players Solot and Julian Alvarez, Ademola Lookman. These guys are quite also dangerous. They can also turn a game on its head. So we'll be asking ourselves the big question: will Hansi Flick at this time, flip the switch against Atletico Madrid and Diego Simeone's haram ball? Will he actually come into that particular game with playing low block against this Barcelona side? All of these are the speculations that will be going on in his head. But in the end, Barcelona showed how ruthless they can be against a side that is defensive. They did it against Newcastle. You recall the first leg of that particular tie. The other person was talking about how Hall, made sure that Lamine Yamal, is kept quiet in the entirety of the night. But when they got to the Camp Nou, it was a different experience. Barcelona actually did, the magic against them, and Lamine Yamal was at the forefront of demolishing that particular side. So it's going to be a very big game. But Barcelona and Atletico Madrid, any day, anytime, is going to be that game you want to see.
All right, our producers just have to preempt us to talk about the Europa League because Terence Murphy's, who's currently with Portugal, is going to be dealing with Zaidu Sanusi and of course, Super Eagles trial talking about Terence Murphy, Zaidu Sanusi, all play for Porto. They'll be dealing with Nottingham Forest in the Europa League, and they'll be coming face to face with each other in this season's UEFA Europa League after Nottingham Forest was pitched with Porto in the quarterfinals. I know came on in the second half as Forest overcame Danish outfit FC Midtjylland in the round of 16, winning 3-0 on penalties after a 2-1 victory to overturn the tie around following their 1-0 success at the City ground in the first leg. Porto, who featured Murphy and Sanusi, progressed to the quarterfinals after a 4-1 aggregate victory over VfB Stuttgart, rounded off with a 2-0 win on Thursday evening. And Forest have already faced Porto in this season's competition with goals from Morgan Gibbs-White and Igor Jesus, enough for 3 league phase points in October. And the first leg will be played in Portugal with the return leg on in Trent's side, because I definitely is going to be a killing contested. I want to see Zaidu Sanusi and Terence Murphy up against Olajuwon and Nottingham Forest.
This is actually one of the hallmark of top teams. This is exactly one image we always see among Brazilian players, playing French players playing against themselves at club level, at the highest level. That's what makes your team a very top team. When you go to European competitions, you have your players pitting their tent against one another. I like they always say iron sharpened iron. That's in itself is one of the things we'll be hoping for. And when you say a team is actually very good, you get to see your players playing at the highest level of every competition. And even at the lowest level, even at the the next level, to the highest level, you get to see them as well. So it's actually a very beautiful thing. For now, just picked up a Player of the Match award in the Premier League again. he's shown that he's arguably one of the best right back in the Premier League. And you know what it means to be one of the top right backs in Premier League. It means that he's got an immense quality. And Terry Murphy, also a player who was invited in the last 2023 AFCON. Yeah, he was part of that particular team, and of course, Zedi Sanusi also was part of the last AFCON. Again, we have a team that are very well exposed in Europe. It's all about now for Erichel to find a way to mix these spice together and give us a very, very wonderful delicacy that every single team will be very, very afraid to play.
All right, every single team will be very, very much afraid to play against. All right, let's go back to England's Three Lions. Thomas Tuchel said England's upcoming camp is the last opportunity for players to compete, I beg your pardon, for their tickets to the World Cup this summer, as he named an expanded 35-man squad. It included the two uncapped players in Everton midfielder James Garner and Brighton goalkeeper Jason Steele. The extended squad saw recalls for Manchester United duo Harry Maguire and Kobe Mino, while AC Milan defender Fikayo Tomori is back for the first time since October 2023. Leeds striker Dominic Calvert-Lewin returns after more than 5 years since his last call-up, and Dominic Solanke makes his first squad since October 2024. But there's no place for Tuchel's squad for Real Madrid fullback Trent Alexander-Arnold, Bournemouth midfielder Alex Scott, and Aston Villa forward Oli Watkins. Chelsea's Reece James and Trevor Chalobah, who were named in the last squad, miss out through injury. The Three Lions continue the World Cup preparations with friendlies at Wembley Stadium against Uruguay on 27th March and Japan on 31 March. Tuchel said to get the best out of this camp, a decision was made to split it into two camps with 11 players joining the squad after the Uruguay game. The 11 players are Dean Henderson, Dan Bourne, Mark Guehi, Ezri Konsa, Nico O'Reilly, Elliot Anderson, as well as Declan Rice, Morgan Rogers, Anthony Gordon, Harry Kane, and Bukayo Saka. Of course, Alexander-Arnold's Real Madrid teammate Jude Bellingham is included in the squad, despite not playing for the club since early February because of a hamstring injury, while defender John Stones has made just 2 Manchester City appearances since early December, also makes the cut. Okay, do you think that him eventually joining Real Madrid looks like his own undoing for talking about Trent Alexander-Arnold?
Well, you can actually say that it's being part of the Real Madrid team is also one of the reasons why it's been left out, because we can actually set precedent with McManaman, who actually was a very fantastic player, but at the point, he was playing in Real Madrid, and how those European countries, behave, when their players play, when the national team player is playing outside the shores of their country, it's more like you are not actually good enough to be in our national team, because they're trying to actually protect the sanctity of their team, because they know that when you play in the same league, they definitely the interpretation and how you react to games will definitely almost be the same. And this is why, this is where African football is actually losing its source, because we are not conservative. We, Africans and South Americans, always move their players across to Europe. So we tend to do everything the European way. We tend to play like the Europeans. We tend to play like, the country all of our players play. And that's a very big problem. But that's exactly why the European countries, in the last 15 years, they are actually the ones dominating world football, because of how they've been able to strictly, be conservative with their play. We can also look at players like Owen Hargreaves. I mean, a top quality player for Bayern Munich at a point, but he was struggling to actually break into the Three Lions. Yes, we know that the Three Lions at the point also have top quality midfielders in Gerrard and Lampard, but then there's no reason why that guy wouldn't be part of that particular. Even you also record in 2010 that Xabi Alonso at the point he also struggled to break into the Spanish national team. In 2008 he was very much in Liverpool, and then it was Marco Senna, who was playing with Villarreal, was the one who was trusted with the role to be the anchorman for the Spanish midfield, and then until he moved up to Real Madrid, before he also got a lot of playing time to play in the national team. So it's all about conservatism for the Europeans, and it's not surprising for anyone who has been following this. Trent Alexander-Arnold is one player who is expected to actually take over, especially now that Kyle Walker is out. Trippier is also out, so he's expected.
James is
Yes,
out.
so Reece James is also out injured. He's the next man in line when it comes to experience, exposure. He's done it. He's seen it. He's done every single thing. There's no other person in that position that's better than him in terms of exposure. But unfortunately, he's playing outside England, and that's definitely going to be counting against him.
All right, and of course, it looks like he's going to have to pray that injuries happen to players who likely are taking his spot. I've seen the certain Tino Livramento for Newcastle. He's been awesome this season. And of course, him getting a look in that defense, definitely, if you take a look at his form this season, I think he has been awesome. And of course, there's also an opportunity for Jarek Kwanzaa, the reject at Liverpool, doing big things for Bayer Leverkusen. He can play in the right back as well as play in the centre back position. Okay, but I'm really worried about the invitation of John Stones, who have only played few games since December. I think he has only played 2 games since December.
Yeah, 2 games.
He's been in and out injured, but I don't know why his invitation is crucial. And of course, Kobe Mino is not in the form that we used to know, but he gets a look in.
No, Kobe Mino in the last 1 month or thereabouts since Carrick took over the job has been immense for Manchester United. I think he's been the one who's been deciding every single thing in the middle of the park alongside Casemiro. So yes, he's definitely going to get a look in, and of course playing for a top club, a team that is in top 4 at the point. I think he deserves to get a look into that particular team. And for John Stones, yes, when coaches pick especially these top countries, when they pick players like that, they tend to actually look at experience. They tend to actually look at energies in the team. They also tend to look at the person who has actually who's got a lot of experience that can actually rally the boys. Even if you're not going to be playing, you have to be that big character that's going to act as the psychic among the team. Help them psych their energy. Help them understand that okay, at this stage, this is exactly what we'll be doing. Help them understand what it means like to actually be part of the national team. Help them understand what the 3 Lions really represent. Of course, we saw that in 2013 when Joseph Yobo was part of the team in the first game against the Chipolopolo of Zambia against Burkina Faso, in the AFCON. He was not really all that, and then he was dropped to the bench. And all through the tournament, he was more like a huge inspiration and led the Super Eagles to the AFCON final. So these things happen sometimes. Coaches take experienced players knowing that they might not even get to play any minute, or they might just end up playing few minutes. They take them to be part of it to actually steady the energy in the room, and then help the team to be more balanced. So that's exactly what the likes of the omission of John Stones will definitely be adding to that particular team.
All right, of course. And now let's go to the Carabao Cup, where it looks like it's getting more interesting as far as updates in regards to that match is concerned. Pep Guardiola, just some few minutes or hour ago, he had a press conference where he confirmed that James Trafford will be in goal for Sunday's Carabao Cup final against Arsenal. The 23-year-old, who was included in England's squad for the friendlies against Uruguay and Japan, has played in every round of the competition so far and impressed throughout. Now he will feature in his first major cup final as he looks to help the Blues secure their first silverware of the season. Pep was also asked about Erling Haaland and confirmed he's looking good to face the Gunners on Sunday. Antoine Semenyo, like Trafford, is poised for his first major cup final, and the former Bournemouth forward has 7 goals in 16 appearances for the Blues, including a crucial opener in the 2-0 semi-final win over Newcastle United. Meanwhile, Guardiola says victory for his team could be a pivotal moment in their careers, particularly with many making their first appearance in a Wembley final. Let's talk about picking Trafford. I hope he's not going to regret this, picking Trafford in a big game against Arsenal ahead of Donnarumma.
I think I'll say that there's actually nothing to regret. For Pep Guardiola, it's all about setting precedents. If you are the man who is entrusted with handling the cup ties, you definitely be the one who's going to look in all through the finals. He's trusted you with the role, except you've made a mistake along the line in one of the games before running to the finals. Then definitely your ability will be questioned. But so far so good. Trafford has been an immense goalkeeper. He joined City as the best goalkeeper in the championship. So definitely a City player who was sold and then he was re-signed again. He's actually developed as a player. I think these are the sort of games that will definitely help you become better. These are the sort of pressure you need to to step in to become one of the top shot stoppers in the world. So for me, I think Pep Guardiola is one man who really understands what it takes to actually give young players the opportunity. Gigi Donnarumma has nothing to prove, at this level. He's arguably one of the best goalkeepers in the world. If City will win that particular game, I think it's not just going to be, by the effort of, the goalkeeper. Yes, I know that, yes, the influence of the goalkeeper is highly, going to play a huge role. But then City's got, cross of their players, in that particular game. So for the goalkeeper, Trafford, I think it's going to really help him, because if something happens to their goalkeeper today, or their Donnarumma tomorrow, I mean, they definitely rely on Trafford to actually sail through all the season. So why not give him an opportunity in this sort of tie, to actually do what he's been doing all through the season when the competition actually, started. So it's a good one for me. Whatever happens on Sunday, I think Pep Guardiola has made the right call.
All right, so I think Pep Guardiola has made the right call. Of course, we're still here from Arsenal, though I know most of the usual suspects. I don't know whether Daman is going to start this time. A lot of Arsenal fans have been waxing lyrical about this young man, saying he's the next big thing. Doman, okay?
Max Doman.
Max Doman, okay? That's the name. I'll try as much as possible to remember that name. Because he's just
well with us now, it's actually not the first time we are seeing young lads, stepping into the fray and then taking up big stage. We saw with Fabregas at 16. Fabregas was arguably, for me, I think I've not seen a 16-year-old as big as Fabregas. A 19-year-old Fabregas was a different kind of level. You'll be looking at Fabregas at 18, when he was playing the Champions League final against Barcelona. You'll be thinking, is this actually a younger version of Zidane? He was so comfortable in the middle of the park, took over the midfield from, the likes of Van Bommel and co in that particular midfield against Barcelona. And of course, we also saw Jack Wilshere in 2011, who was also very young at the point. The whole world stood still to watch him. Pep Guardiola actually gave him a handshake. Xavi said it's actually the next big thing. He actually took over the midfield from Xavi, Iniesta, and Busquets. I mean, these are the guys who were more like the best trio in the middle of the park. And then we are now seeing another interesting ball carrier. The big question is, can they, I'm talking about now him, Max Doman, and Jack Wilshere, live up to the expectation of the young man Fabregas? Not to also forget that the history of Arsenal is littered with this sort of young players becoming legends. Talking about one of the greatest legends of all time, Tony Adams. He became captain of Arsenal at 17. Also, they've always had this history, so it's not surprising we are seeing another teenager in Arsenal doing wonders. I just hope that it's going to be able to actually live up to the billing, because it's one thing to actually start now and then all eyes on you, because when the ovation gets loud, that's exactly where the big masquerade comes out.
Because for the case of Chuba Akpom and Ethan Waneri, they had so much promise, but I'm surprised that Mikel Arteta is not counting on them eventually. But of course, you can give it to players like Kelly, who is doing well for himself, coming from the academy as well. And that shows promise. All right, let's talk about the English Premier League derby games to look forward to tonight. The Premier League returns with match week 31 kicking off as Manchester United take on Bournemouth under the lights. With Manchester City and Arsenal not involved in league action due to their cup final commitment, the focus shifts to a packed weekend featuring several pivotal fixtures. Liverpool travel to Brighton in a clash that could shake up the race for European places, while Chelsea visits Everton as both sides look to strengthen their push up the table. There's also pressure on at the bottom with Fulham versus Burnley and Leeds up against Brentford, carrying major implications in the relegation battle. But the headline encounter comes on Sunday with the team where derby as Newcastle United and Sunderland collide in one of English football's fiercest rivalries. Bournemouth versus Manchester United is going to be a very, very interesting one tonight. Bournemouth are unbeaten in their last 5 Premier League games against Newcastle, against Manchester United. Of course, scoring more goals in these 5, and of course, than they did in their first 12 games against the Red Devils in the division. Okay, Manchester United is doing very well for themselves. Manchester United have lost just 2 of their 8 away Premier League games against Bournemouth. And of course, they've won 4, drawn 2, and their last 2 visits to the Vitality Stadium have seen them come from behind to draw. And Bournemouth have won 3 of their 4 Friday night games in the Premier League, with the exception being a 4-2 loss at Liverpool in the opening game this season. Manchester United have won just 1 of their 5 away Friday night games in the Premier League drawing 2 and losing 2, beating Aston Villa 1-0 in August 2015. And of course, Bournemouth have drawn each of their last 4 Premier League games, 3 of which have been goalless. And the last side to draw 5 consecutive matches in the competition were Fulham in December 2020 and January 2021 season. All right, Michael Carrick took charge. Since he took charge of Manchester United in January, the Red Devils have won more Premier League games, 7, and more Premier League points of 22 than any other side. Yes, it's on the roller coaster, but if there's any team that's going to put a full stop to that, it has to be Bournemouth. They're at home tonight at the Vitality Stadium.
Well, the Vitality Stadium might not actually be vital for them tonight because Manchester United is actually on a very different level. And of course, you recall that the last time they actually played, Krupi actually came into that particular tie to almost seal the game for them before United before he actually equalized the game for them before it ended in a draw. And of course, you recall that one of the players that actually was, the tormentor in chief in that particular game was, certain Antonio Semenyo, who has actually moved to Manchester at this point. So it's not going to be the same Bournemouth, but it's going to be a better Manchester United. So it's going to be a very different particular game going to the Vitality Stadium. And trust me, if there's any team that's going to be going to that game with a lot of vigor, and it's going to be Manchester United.
All right, it's going to be Manchester United. It's already brimming with confidence and coming from Igechukwu. I don't blame him. Anyway, each of Caspero's last 5 Premier League goals this season has been assisted by Bruno Fernandes. He's been on the form of his life. Talk about Bruno Fernandes. There's even the talk about he might win the Premier League Player of the Season.
Well, that's actually going to be a stretch because I think Declan Rice has done a lot of job to actually end that particular one. But then, the season is still quite, we still have about 6 or 7 games before the end of the season. So yes, it's very much in the running for it. He's broken the record for Manchester United most assists in the season, making it 16 ahead of David Beckham legend, who actually had 15 of it. And now he's actually chasing, Premier League assist of the season that is actually held by, certain Kevin De Bruyne. Who actually did, Mesut Ozil, who actually has, 18 assists in the season. And of course, if he can actually, pull out one, then trust me, he's done so well for himself. And I don't know, just about 2 from that particular one. So if he can actually pull up to that particular number, or even gets up to 19, which is very possible, he can actually do it too against Bournemouth, and that will be very much close to, the record for Premier League assists of the season. He's done so well for himself, trust me. So yes, he's going to be in the running to actually get it. He might not bag the Premier League Player of the season, but definitely he's going to bag one of the 2, if he does so well until the end of the season. He might win the player version of the award, or of course, he might also win, Sport Writers Award as well. So there are a couple of awards that he can actually bag at the end of the season. But I think Declan Rice is definitely going to pick one of those major gongs as well.
All right, only Marcus Rashford has been set up by the same player more in a single campaign for Manchester United in the competition. 6 by Fernandes in 2022-2023. Man United's Bruno Fernandes has created 6+ chances in each of his last 3 Premier League games, the first player to do so since Trent Alexander-Arnold in December 2023. No player on record from the 2003-2004 season has created 6 or more chances in 4 successive appearances in the competition. All right, and of course, let's talk about the one between Liverpool and Brighton. Brighton have won 2 of their last 3 home league games against Liverpool, and they've drawn 1, beating them 3-2 in this exact fixture last season. They did only 1 of their last 13 against the Reds. They've drawn 6 and lost 6. And following their 2-0 win at Anfield in December, Liverpool are looking to complete the league double over Brighton for the first time since the 2019-2020 season. And Liverpool have won 2-0 Premier League and 3-0 in the FA Cup against Brighton already this season.
Well, I think so far so good. If you look at the trajectory of both teams all through the season, Brighton is also not the same team we witnessed a couple of seasons ago. They're not the same team that actually, stop big teams. But Liverpool, on the other hand, also has been struggling. But then the character of Liverpool players has always been showing, when it really matters the most. So I think Liverpool might just, find a way around this particular tie. They know that, winning every single game at this point or picking vital points in every single game, before the end of the season is very important, and for them to actually make it to the top 4. So if they cannot get those numbers, it's definitely going to become a huge problem for them. They know, there's no, it shouldn't be, a bargain for them. They must get to the UEFA Champions League next season. That's exactly where, they belong. So if they must get it, they start with games like this. before the end of the season. I mean, now that the teams like Chelsea are actually very struggling, so Liverpool may also want to cement their place, knowing that Manchester United is also in a very good shape, and that's the only there's also a certain Aston Villa also fighting for that particular spot. So Liverpool understands what the assignment is, and they know that dropping any point at this point is not a very good feel for them. And for Brighton, I don't think they really have anything to actually play for, so they are not in a relegation hot water. So for the Liverpool has more hunger to actually get the entire 3 points in this particular one. I think it's going to be a Liverpool win or draw for me in this particular time.
A Liverpool win or draw for you. Okay, I understand why. Anyway, there will also be a lot of games to look forward to this weekend. So many fixtures. And of course, the weird derby, talking about Newcastle United against Sunderland. I hope there will be no issues this time around. It's always a big derby out there in England. And of course, the Spurs versus Nottingham Forest is also another big game. But let's talk about Aston Villa. They looked like they were going to make the top 4. But things are not looking too good for them. And for Chelsea, even as much as I hate to talk about them, they go with Everton with all of their problems. And Chalobah looks like he might not be available. He has a knock, and they have problems in defense, going up to face up the likes of Tarkowski, who's on form. And of course, Everton is having some kind of interesting form this season.
Absolutely. I mean, the fixtures are actually, quite interesting. Everton against Chelsea is another very big one. Chelsea is, I don't know if Rosinho will be able to actually pay the fans back over after what actually happened during the midweek. Again, a very, very interesting one, like you highlighted, Newcastle against Sunderland, Terry derby. The last time it actually played out a 1-1 draw, it was huge. And now we just hope that the atmosphere is calm, and then we get to see Newcastle do the business. I believe Newcastle is also not in the running for the top 4 again at this point in the season. So for me, I think there's going to be less tension. The only thing they'll be chasing is for them to be in a very safe space, not to battle relegation after 2 to 3 games before the end of the season. And then, of course, Leeds United versus Brentford game is another very big one. Leeds United also started conceding a lot of goals. At some point, they became a team that you don't want to actually play if you're not ready to stop them from scoring, because their side, Dana Fakis has found a way to actually ensure that side score a lot of goals. And then Igor Thiago for Brentford is one man who's been on fire. He's been scoring loads of goals, and I'm not going to be surprised if he finds the back of the net in that particular tie. And not to also forget that this particular game that you just talked about, talking about the Fulham against Burnley, it's another very, very big game. And Spurs against Nottingham Forest, weekend game, that on Sunday is going to be another very, very powerful game. And Aston Villa against West Ham, a huge game, right? Look at West Ham United. It's a team that, when David Moyes go back to that particular team, he's trying to put the team back to shape. And we've been seeing, a lot of, job being done by that manager. And for Aston Villa is a team, like you said, they were actually looking at, they were looking promising for the top 4 title, for the top 4 position, I beg your pardon. But then at some point they were started struggling. I think the problem with Emery's side, I'm talking about Aston Villa now. The problem with his Emery's side is the fact that they don't have that squad in depth. When the season started wearing, when the likes of their fullback Matty Cash got injured, some of our key players got injured, nobody could really step up to put them at the level they were actually driving at that particular point. After that game against Arsenal that they won the first leg 1-0, the team started declining because they started suffering injuries. Players started getting suspended for some reasons, either because of multiple bookings they've accumulated or other reasons, and then it started affecting the output of the team because they don't have quality of players to actually drive them through the finish line. So if they must actually do better next season, they need that large squad, and that's exactly what is really, really affecting them. That's exactly why and how the big teams are able to actually escape this particular team, because they know what to do. They get the right players. They get backup players who will step on when the season. Because I mean, the league is not a sprint; it's obviously a marathon. So what you do with marathon is to have players who can actually run the race to the finish line when the people who started the race are already tired out.
All right, so of course, with that, that's how we'll wrap it up on the show. The locker room, it's been awesome having Ikechukwu, and of course, let's wait and see what happens on Monday. Is it Man United or Chelsea that we're going to talk about? But a lot to really look forward to. And of course, I would have loved to have my one, but unfortunately, we could not get him. Wishing Manchester United not the best against Bournemouth tonight. And of course, enough to banter on eventually tonight after that game. If Bournemouth gets the scalp of Manchester United at the Vitality Stadium. And of course, a big thanks to the guys who made the show awesome. Talking about the production team, not leaving out Adura, as well as Paul and Ikechukwu and Choma as well, and Manfred, who's been awesome. My name is Jerry Apelahai, saying thanks for being a part of the locker room. Up next is Political Lens with Chukuma Okoro. Stay tuned.
To know the happenings in the maritime sector, join us on the program Maritime Frontiers on VOP TV as we discuss key areas in the maritime sector from aquaculture, maritime transportation, maritime labor regulation, oil and gas exploration, ferry and passenger insurance, marine pollution and prevention, port operations, and lots more. Maritime Frontiers, exploring Nigeria's blue economy. The red carpets, awards, the razzmatazz, music, fashion, interviews, and more. Spotlight on Voice of the People Television. Let's feed you with all the juicy stories in the global entertainment space, bringing you the glitz and glamour as it is hot. Stay tuned to Spotlight, 1 p.m. Monday to Friday. Spotlight on VOP TV. Entertainment like never before. Are you ready for the extraordinary? Something big is happening on your screen. Introducing VOP TV. Now streaming on SLTV channel 264. From breaking news to captivating conversations, news analysis, giving you all sides to the story. We bring in-depth discussions on the issues that matter, from politics to sports, entertainment, and lifestyle. VOP TV on SLTV channel 264. Join us as we redefine what television means to you. Voice of the People Television, VOP TV. Now you have more than a voice.
Nutrition experts are emphasizing the importance of healthy eating in preventing disease and improving overall well-being. At an event marking World Registered Dietitian Nutritionist Day in Lagos, stakeholders highlighted the role of balanced diets, proper portion control, and reduced consumption of processed foods in tackling rising cases of lifestyle-related illnesses. They say nutrition also plays a key role in energy levels, cognitive development, and productivity.
Is when you get your diet right, you are physically and mentally alert, which you know that eating healthy is one of the master key of good health. Down to the hospital setting, they come in as clients. We have those on admission across board, from cradle to geriatric, which is the elderly people. So from the pregnant woman, for your child, for you to be healthy and the child to be healthy, and you come out having a bouncing and beautiful or handsome baby, you need the touch of a dietitian. That is in terms of a promotion of good health.
Experts also stress the need for greater awareness and the integration of dietitians in healthcare institutions across the country.
We need to improve on our policy. We need to improve on our policy. We need to make sure that food is one of the highest allocation is given to food in the policy. 1, 2, during the policy for nutritionists, dietitians should be included in this policy making table, because we are the ones that actually knows where the feet is pinching, we are with the grassroots. We know them, we see them, they come to us. Some of them, we know the reasons why some of this thing is happening. So with this, we can actually tackle this thing. The second thing is that we need to train more of nutritionists and dietitians in Nigeria.
They add that promoting healthier food choices remains essential to building a healthier population.
And the message we have out there is that nutrition is the bedrock of healthy living. If we talk about people being healthy to go about their businesses and being away from disease, out of disease, you have to make your nutrition a top priority in your life. So when you get the nutrition right, it takes care of every health condition as well as healthy living.
With the growing concerns of lifestyle-related illnesses in Nigeria, the conversation is drawn towards the role of nutrition in our everyday lives and everyday habits as well. For many, the conversation is really about awareness and better living. I'm Praise Peters from Voice of the People Television.
We encourage you to click on the like button and subscribe to our YouTube channel. We are Voice of the People TV. Also follow us on all our social media platforms. We are at VOPTV Live. Visit our website www.vop.ng for fresh and trending news. Also watch us live on SLTV channel 264. VOPTV, Voice of the People Television.
In a world where power shakes with every headline.
In a nation full of questions.
In a world filled with noise, the truth needs the voice.
The policies that shapes our world and the economy that determines our future.
Every hour, every day, the grapevine keeps buzzing. And together, we are committed to telling the stories that shape our world because your voice is our focus.
Don't forget, our voice matters the most. Let us come together and share our concerns.
Behind every broken desk lies a broken promise. Education shapes the nations. But who is asking the right questions? Introducing Edu Dialogue, the show that goes beyond the surface, exposes the cracks, the corruption, and the silence in Nigeria's education system. Edu Dialogue, Saturdays, 3 p.m., only on VOP TV. We break the biggest stories, from missing funds to policy failures. We ask the tough questions and demand real answers. Edu Dialogue, this Saturday, 3 p.m. on Voice of the People Television.